I'm here today with Katie McDonald. Katie is a professional speaker and a life strategist. And the reason she's on our show today on this episode is that we're going to talk about some things that, as women in sales and women in general, that we don't always think about, and that it is relating to and around self-care. So, Katie, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Laurie.
Yeah, and we met through our mutual friend Carol Mahoney and through the Heroic program, hero formerly called Heroic Public Speaking. And I know that you're a professional speaker and you talk to lots of different groups about life strategy, right? Tell us more about what you do.
It's all about self care strategies because the fact is, most of us are running on fumes and we're borrowing future energy to get through today. And I want to disrupt that. When we think about what we're able to create in a compromised state, I want to leverage the well being that we can create through our habits to create sustainable change and also have a legacy, leave a legacy behind that's intentional and coming from a place of nourishment and restoration instead of deprivation and denial.
I love that. I love the nourishment piece. And in fact, your company's called Be Nourished.
Yes. Which is nourished by our habits, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And you and I, when we last chatted, you were talking about how you have a sales background and you know the issues of women who are in a very male majority, competitive, loud world. And you were commenting about how women have to do extra to be as successful. Give us a little bit.
Yes. So my background is I worked for Time Magazine and I sold advertising in 45 national publications, including Business Week, Forbes, Fortune, Architectural Digest, and more. And I started my career in magazine sales and I realized that the way to compete was to erase myself to become like a man because being a woman was not going to get me a competitive edge in any way. So erasing myself so that I could be seen to be an equal. And that required first the self-denial was depleting and disorientating and also understanding that I had to perform at work in a way as if I was on a stage, not the way we all do in sales, where there is this performative, theatrical aspect when we bring our energy and we're presenting, but just this lack of authenticity that made me sick. I became very sick in corporate sales. I didn't know how to take care of business and take care of myself. And so day in and day out, I was selling my soul, trading my health and well being for that dopamine hit of a sale. But more importantly, for that external validation that said, as long as your the sales numbers were my mirror. So if the sales are good, you're good. Sales are looking good, you're looking good. And over this disconnection with myself, I lived neck up and even as my body started to deteriorate, I just told myself, like, dust it off, get going, keep moving, make the next sale. I didn't drink water because I didn't want to have to stop and go to the bathroom. This was a time before cell phones even. So I was
I
driving
remember.
from place to place. You remember, right?
Yep,
Late 80s
I
and
was there.
early 90s. And over again, just my needs as a human being were an inconvenience. Like I was swatting them away like flies
Yeah.
until my body broke down. And then eventually my mind broke down and I was forced to leave because not by somebody else, but because I was no longer physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally able to do the work.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many stories I've heard from women. I was thinking I should put these all together as a compilation of women who were either on their way to deliver a baby and had to get some sales numbers reported or had to finish proposals or they
Right.
just had their baby or they just came out of surgery. And my goodness, self-care is at the bottom of it's the lowest rung for a lot of people, and
It
that's really
is.
too bad because it's gonna kill us, like, we can't work that way.
And we tell ourselves, we delude ourselves, oh, I'll do it later after this close. Every issue, I'd be like, after we close this issue, then, or after this quarter, or after I win the sales incentive trip. It was just this after I broke my word to myself over and over again. And if you start doing that enough, you stop believing yourself, you stop trusting yourself, you really negatively impact the relationship you have with yourself. And yet, this is the relationship that will outlast all others till death do us part. And yet, it's the one that we so freely neglect and deny. And we can't be good girls and be good to ourselves.
Yeah. And when you tie that in with household expectations, those of us who are caring for little ones or doing multiple chores because our spouse or partner doesn't, still an ongoing issue, that just makes it even harder. So let's
Yes.
find an upbeat angle to this. I'm so down now. I feel sad.
Yeah, well, the upbeat angle is we don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
We're gonna be good to ourselves.
Yeah.
We're going to take care of business because we're taking care of ourselves. We have to invert the model
Yeah.
that when I take care of myself, I am investing in my sales career. I'm going to gain a competitive edge over everyone else out there by taking exceptional care of myself because
Yeah.
very few people are willing to do it. They are stuck in that trap that says deny, 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 ignore your needs because you've got to do this. You've got your to-do list is more important than your to-be list. But at some point, when we reclaim that we are human beings, not human doings, then we change the model. And until then, we are going to be the pioneers. We're going to be the ones that are breaking the mold, breaking the generational cycle of self neglect.
Wow. Wow. When your to-do list becomes a to-be list. I love that. I love that. That makes so much sense. So, one of the things you talk a lot about planning, you need to make room for self-care, you need to plan it out. You created a planner, which you didn't know this about me, but I'm like a huge planner person. I'm a
I
paper-based
did.
planner. I do digital
Yes.
stuff too. I'm very
Yeah.
digital, but I love writing and I use different colored pens and maybe a few stickers here and there. You were kind enough to send me one. And what I love about because mediocrity is beneath you is you can get it with that saying on it. And I love that saying because I had a sales manager years ago, and he used to say, "It takes work to be mediocre."
Mhm,
And if it
mhm.
takes work, why not be exceptional?
Oh,
So
that's so good.
yeah, his
That's
name he
with
was an
it.
ex-IBM guy, and his name was Al Martin. I'll never forget. He was just amazing. And this planner is incredible. I love it so much. I can't wait to dive into it. And it's a 90-day planner, which I think is a really great way to work, and we can get a lot done. We can see a lot that
That's
way.
right.
So tell us a little bit about why you did that, just out of
Oh,
curiosity.
I have been obsessed with planners. So you are my people. I have been obsessed with planners since I was a little girl, trying to tame my mind. I was constantly on the go, constantly in motion, addicted to doing. And what I found, the hope of a planner was this, it pulled at this sense of wanting self-mastery, the sense of saying, okay, there's so little that we're in control of in life, the weather and so many things, right? That can cause suffering. But the things that we are in control of are often the things that we don't tend to, the things that we ignore and deny. So as a little girl, I would get planner after planner. I would take notebooks and cover them in wallpaper to match in my room. I was just obsessed. And increasingly, as I started 15 years ago as this concierge coach, vowing, I'm going to go back to my tribe of doers, my salespeople, and I'm going to teach them how to be. And this planner, I needed a tool because all the other planners that I had were very masculine. It was as if somebody else was tending to everything else at home. Oh, because they were. And I felt unseen and it tapped into the part of me that is the human doing, denying the other piece of me. And I was like, I have to come up with way. And then the alternatively, the strictly female versions, I'm using air quotes here,
Yeah.
were cutesy and didn't honor the fact that I love to get things done.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find anything that brought the two together, that self care was often siloed in this fluff category,
Mm.
and sales and achievement and productivity was in a totally different end of the spectrum. So my work is about bringing the two together. And so this planner is woven with prompts to remind us of our best self, the future self, the wise self that says, hey, for the next 90 days, you said you're going to accomplish these three things. And the way that you're going to do that is a tool for self accountability. And one of the ways you're going to do it is make sure you're moving your body. And it could be 5 minutes of walking around the driveway if that's what it takes. But it's not, there are prompts throughout that say, hey, every day, what's your food plan for today? You don't have to spell it out into details. You don't have to be in a diet. You don't have to be in some strict way. We don't want to tap into that. What we
Right.
do want to say is, hey, you're a physical being who requires feeding. You just do. And I want these from my and asking every single day. This is a pivotal question that my clients and my speaking audience, I ask them, what do I need? Not what do I need to do? Because if I ask anybody, any woman that, you could tell me in seconds. But what do you need? Well, that's a question we're not asking ourselves enough. So every single day woven into this planner is, hey, what do you need? Check in with yourself. Repair the relationship you have with yourself because the word time literally has ME in it. So this planner is about managing ourselves because time is fixed, but we are not. So taking on the responsibility and the privilege of crafting a day instead of reacting to a day. And we as women are great at reacting, putting on our superhero capes, tying them on tightly, choking ourselves in the process, and rescuing everyone else. We overfunction for everyone else and we underperform for ourselves.
Mm.
And this planner is designed as a remedy for just that.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And I hope people are picking up tidbits and ideas. This isn't a pitch to sell a planner. It just
No,
happens
not
to
at all.
be it's one of the vehicles that you use to help when you speak with groups, you talk to women. What do you find about women in sales or just women in business in general that we overbooking ourselves? Could we just make some extra time every day? Would it be as simple as blocking some time for us? Is that one of your tips?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that we need to do in the time management piece is we need to understand that every meeting has three components. And the first component is the preparation. Going any meeting that we do, we need to take a few minutes or much longer, depending on the meeting, to prepare for the meeting. What objective do I have here? What is my desired outcome? How do I want to show up? Some of these questions we need to ask so that when we are actually in a meeting, we are directing it instead of reacting and responding. We're actually bringing agency and authorship to it. The other piece is the presence in the meeting. And that takes a mental discipline. That takes our ability to be fully present in the same way that we strive to be with our loved ones. When your child is talking to you, my son, age 23, called and it was having a tough time. And it's like, my whole world stopped. Okay, firmly present. What is it that's happening right here? What do I need to do? Being fully present in that moment. And then on the other side of it is what's the actual productivity? What do I need to create afterwards? A meeting, if it's an effective meeting, we all understand what the next steps are and we take responsibility to do it. The problem is, or the opportunity is, if I were to reframe that, is when we're scheduling meeting, instead of blocking off, like for you, this call right now, this podcast, okay, I blocked off that, but I actually blocked off the hour prior and I'm blocking off an hour on the other end. Now, I may not need that full amount of time. We may not have that amount. We might want to stay 15 minutes on either end. It's all a matter of context and considerations. What is the context? What's required? But the problem is, the challenge is we are booking meeting after meeting, and then the preparation doesn't happen. So the meetings aren't as effective, or we don't do the follow up. And then we're back at a meeting with not having done the follow up. We're missing opportunities. We're racing, and rushing is an act of self neglect.
Yeah,
So
rushing versus
creating buffers between meetings so that we actually can breathe and digest what just happened. What kind of insight did I get? What kind of contribution can I make before I even get in that meeting?
yeah.
So we're not allowing ourselves, or here's a concept. have lunch. I never did.
Yeah,
I wouldn't eat lunch. And I'd go to these fancy meetings where we'd be at this beautiful restaurant and I'd be whining a dining client and nibble on a lettuce leaf. And then I would get in my car and shovel candy bars in my face because I was so exhausted and
yeah,
I was so depleted. And busyness is bitter, but sugar was really sweet. And I would shove the
sure.
wrappers under my company car because I wasn't being fed. And
Yeah,
frankly, it's our job to parent ourselves at home and at work. And this is
good.
what we need to do. We need to celebrate the wins
Yeah,
instead of just look for what we haven't yet accomplished. Take a moment, breathe it in. Yay, me. In the same way we cheer everybody else before we climb that next mountain, before we slay that next dragon, let's take a moment and congratulate ourselves and honor the work that we did to have accomplished what we did.
yeah, and I would go a step further and say document your wins. You have it to look at, and a lot of us are visual, I know I am, and sometimes you're down or it's a competitive world, you lose out on an opportunity by a very small margin, and because someone says it's about price, which it usually isn't. But when you have a chance to go back and look at your wins and the things that differentiate you, you can really get uplifted. And it's a very handy thing to have nearby that
So smart.
I have something like that as well.
You're reminding me that I still have, and I had then and life is sales, right? I'm still in sales. We all are, but I have a kudos file. And when I felt like I couldn't sell myself out of a paper bag, I would open that up and I would go through page by page and just these accolades, awards, an email, a note card, just something to remind myself that I am more than a sales number
Yeah.
and that there are going to be times. I think a huge part of sales is mood management, is me management. We need to self regulate because the vulnerability of being in a largely male dominated field is wearing on us. And the vulnerability of sales, which is it's like junior high getting chosen for last or first, depending on the kind of day you're having, right?
Yeah.
For the dodgeball,
Yeah.
there is a
Lots of
vulnerability
rejection.
inherent.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And so we have to protect ourselves. We have to nourish ourselves more than the average bear because our state of mind, our physical well being can make or break a sale. This is when we take care of ourselves, we are taking care of business. It is not an obstacle. Self care isn't an obstacle. When we have slept enough, we're protecting our ability to think on our feet, which is a huge part of sales.
Yeah, I thought about that when I told you I'm taking a red eye later today. A red eye flight. I'm gonna be like,
Oh,
I'm gonna get a nap in tomorrow. Always part of my plan so that I always buffer the whole morning so that I can catch up and then I actually don't lose a day of travel going east because
mhm,
that's always frustrating to me anyway.
yes,
But those are things that you think about, I think as you do this longer that you need I know that I can't function otherwise, like, I won't
right.
function, so it's more been there, done that, and there's if you can learn from those of us that already have hit bottom in different ways, I would encourage that over learning yourself the hard way. If you can learn as much as you can through others' mistakes and bumps in the road. So have a buffer. Go ahead.
And I think I love what you said about learning from others because I like rock bottom. I was at the basement of rock bottom. I had suicidal ideation. My body fell apart. I could not function. And that's what it took. And it all fell apart because I missed one meeting. And someone who is as perfectionistic as I was, and salespeople, this is where we go, right? We tend to go there. We are committed and we have exceptionally high standards for ourselves. And that's why I have because mediocrity is beneath you, because the standards we have for ourselves are exceptionally high, except when it comes to self care. That's when we're slumming it. That's when we're hanging out in mediocrity. Oh, I'll get it to it later. Oh, yeah, I'll do postpone, procrastinate, deny, ignore, pretend, all these things that we do to undermine our own success. So, if we could reinvent this, and by the way, we can, what if we actually said to ourselves that in order to, oh, I have a really busy day, boy, I better make sure I walk around the block. gee, let me make sure I get a smoothie in. Instead of saying, I'm going to remove anything that has to do with my well being because I can get away with that. When you hit 40, and the majority of my clients are approaching 40 or on the other side, you can't do it anymore. So I would encourage you with every new client, with every new job, you set standards that you can consistently, sustainably honor. Because what I see is, and I saw this in sales, people would come on and they're like, I've got to prove myself. And they set themselves in a trajectory of being available 24/7, for instance, would be a great example. And it's like, that's not sustainable. It's not a path to being respected by yourself or anybody else. Starting out as a doormat with a new client. I see this in real estate sales, in particular, concierge sales, high end sales, doormat sitting. And that is not a sustainable relationship. That's not how you're going to like yourself. That's not how you're going to gain respect. And it's not how you're going to sustainably be successful because you will be inevitably depleted. Inevitably, you're going to hit the wall. So let's start with, what do you need? What do I need? I need my sleep. I need to make sure I protect my mealtime. And I'm going to have lunch, not at the desk. I'm actually going to, maybe I go and sit on a park bench and eat a salad, or I reach out to a friend and go for a walk, or have a meeting and put AirPods on because I'm going to move my body. We have to ask ourselves, what do I need? And then honor it. And from there, build the commitments for the rest of the day. What are 3 things I'm going to accomplish today now that I have tended to the responsibility of being a human being?
Yeah, and for me, a lifestyle change of moving to Arizona got me outside every day through November, December, January, February.
That's right.
It's great. It's very hot here in the summer, but I go elsewhere when it's very hot. And
Mhm.
so that was an intentional lifestyle change because I made a commitment to get outside every day, one
That's
way or the
great. Good for you.
Pardon?
I said, good for you.
Oh,
Bravo.
yeah, it was just so that's a bigger lifestyle change, and some people got to do some of that during the pandemic. There were people that finally got out of going 5 days a week fresh and found this whole new world of virtual being, and many people will never go back, and some have gone back part-time in a hybrid sort of manner. So I think whatever works for people is great. I know that commuting time was so rough, especially when I was in the Boston area, and people would spend an hour and a half, 2 hours each way commuting. And imagine getting that time back and then choosing companies that are virtual only. And there are many companies like that, not all. And I love being in person. I'm going to meet with people this week in person. I'm going next week to meet with people. So I think there's a real value in doing that, but as a 5-day-a-week work style, I definitely have mixed feelings about that. And
The beauty of the sales field is the flexibility and the autonomy.
yeah,
And I forgot that. We tell what I see in my coaching practice in particular is when we end up putting ourselves in situations like entrepreneurship or sales roles that are designed to give us flexibility and autonomy, we actually become worse than our worst bosses.
for sure.
We are more punishing, more demanding, more intolerant. So I want to change that. And that's why we talked about these prompts of, what do I need? And to throw away the flexibility and the autonomy, which is the juiciness of sales, which women need,
Mm,
especially mothers and anybody that has other people that they're caring for, their parents, or I mean, we need the flexibility. And so many people are drawn to it for that very reason, but
mm,
they get caught up in the cycle and in the doormat nature of service, that they throw away the very thing that drew them to the field in the first place. So we need to protect that, and we need to. What you're talking about too is, understanding what we need and building our business around that. Like, you needed sunshine. You were willing to do a major life overhaul. It could be as simple as having a cup of tea and sitting in silence, or
yeah,
putting your phone away so that it's inaccessible after 9 p.m., or setting email, talking to your clients and saying, hey, I want to let you know, this is what you can expect from me. This is what I do with my coaching clients. Hey, I want to let you know, I am available to you. You can reach out at any point. You will not hear from me during the following times. And if it's an emergency, please reach out in this way. Like I communicate so that I've set the standard up front. I'm role modeling and I'm also honoring my needs for life outside of work. And we're not so good at that because our life outside of work is still work because of everything that's waiting for us at home. It's just a different flavor. So we need to really take exceptional care of ourselves in the simplest of ways without these going to the gym for an hour. I'm not asking about lose your body, sprout, get up between sales calls, work in 45-minute windows, and then save that 15 minutes for getting water, going to the bathroom, stretching, connecting with another human being. These things, these simple things that are transformational when done consistently.
Yeah, and messaging people because people will treat you the way they think you wanna be treated.
That's right. We teach
So
people how to treat us. That's right.
yes. So if I respond as soon as you send me a note, I learned to I might notice something came it's a client sent something last night by email, and I just peeked at it. I didn't open it though, and I said, "No, I'm gonna open it in the morning." But I knew first thing in the morning that he had sent me a request about something, and that was all I needed. But to respond at that time in an Sunday evening, that case, it was just we don't need to do that. And
No.
anyone that thinks they do, it's totally appropriate to respond during business hours.
Yeah. That's the good girl stuff. I really do think we're still caught in it, Lori. We're just trained to be good. And it's like a Pavlovian bell. Oh, what do I need to do now to take care of someone? And the thing is, that's not good business.
Well,
That
and
is
in
not good
sales, it's
business.
I don't wanna lose the business. In this case, the customer had they just signed a contract, but we haven't
Yeah.
gotten the payment, and I don't wanna lose the deal. So it's beyond that. It's probably a double whammy.
Yes. So we take a breath and we say, hey, you know what? We've got this. It's gonna work out. I'm not suggesting we're not professional. I'm not suggesting we're not responsive. But the biggest responsibility that we have in service to our clients is being at our best.
Yeah,
That's how they get the creativity and the resiliency and the resourcefulness that people expect out of their sales partner, their colleague, their confidant,
right.
instead of just being a sales rep.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So what do you read or watch or listen to that inspires you?
It's funny, I knew that you were going to ask this question, and I just got still for a minute because all these ideas came up. Oh my gosh, read this or that. And then I stopped and said, what I want most for high achieving women is to learn to listen to their own voice. I want you to shut all the noise out. Here we are on a podcast saying shut all the noise.
Ah,
But
that's great.
what I notice is my clients are coming to me and they are inundated with information. We all know what we're supposed to be doing, what we need to do. They've got this expert, that guru, that retreat, that book. And frankly, what I want you to do is shut it all down. And I want there to be enough silence so you can start to hear your own voice. It's probably a little quiet, it's a little muted, but it's there. So every day, if it's, I referenced cup of tea, I actually send tea to my clients, a
Oh,
custom
that
blend that I created, which is like that ritual of boiling the water till taking that last sip. Be still, be silent, just allow yourself get to know yourself. And then you can answer that question, what do I need? You might even ask during that time, what do I need? And after that, then sit with the planner, a notebook, whatever it is, and decide these are the three things I'm going to accomplish today. Because when you decide, you have made yourself immune to all the voices that are going to drown yours out, the louder voices that are saying, pulling for your attention. If you haven't set three things you're going to accomplish, you are susceptible to everybody else's agenda and priorities. So I'm asking you to step in, take responsibility and authorship of your own day and do that in just a matter of minutes. Say, these are the three things I'm going to accomplish. And then, oh, by the way, I'm going to celebrate the heck out of those three things that I did. And really understand that success is doing what you said you were going to do, but more importantly, making sure that you said you were going to do are things that were thoughtfully chosen based on your current capacity and respect for the fact that you're a human being that requires tending to and maintenance. This is the parenting ourselves. We need to mother ourselves in the simplest ways. And in doing so, we're leaving a powerful legacy, a sales legacy. We will grow our business when we tend to ourselves.
wow. I love that so much. I don't wanna add anything to that. I just love the way it is. How can people get a hold of you? You offer different programs and things like that. What's the
Yes.
best way?
Well, LinkedIn is a way that you could connect with me on LinkedIn and see my content there. But I would encourage you to go on my website, benourished.com. BNOURISHED.com. There are lots of resources there. Sign up for my newsletter, and you can also learn about my concierge coaching as well as my professional speaking options. And
Oh,
I'd
that's
love to be in contact. This is my tribe. I hear you. I get you. I am you. And I figured out a way. I've figured out ways over and over again to show up for myself the way I show up for everyone else. And that is a powerful transformation that will allow you to sustainably give in the way that you want to give and to learn to receive.
wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, Katie. It's Katie McDonald, Be Nourished, and we'll put links in the show notes as well. And I hope people take this to heart. And I hope that they, and our male allies who listen too, a lot of you are overbooked too, but take this to heart and let me know if you learned anything or if you put anything in place, and I'll share that back with Katie. And let's make it so that we have some grace for ourselves, and yet we keep accomplishing all the great things that we're doing. We don't have to kill ourselves every day to do it. So thank you
Well
so much,
said.
Katie.
Thank you, Laurie.